what have you seen as far as a change in the industry for the last 10 or 12 years from that mentality of, I'm not going to buy anything from somebody, I'm going to build it myself, or I got to put my name on it, right? There's the ego part of it. There's the business sense part of it. There's stuff that goes, you for so long, you see videos and you see people out, we do everything in-house. We do everything in-house. We do it all in-house.
You just don't do it really good.
Right. Well, and there's, there's something to be said for farming out the thing that you can't do, right? So I'm not throwing it off on anybody that is able to do it all in one. But over time, you think back, we look back at the good old days as far as lateral G days, right? And it's like, I'm not going to buy something from anybody. I'll just make it. I'll make my own. It might not turn out as nice, but I can say that I made it. And then sometimes you're billing a customer for that. You're billing a customer times 10 on the hours to build your first chassis. Right? Yeah. Or design, or take a set of mirrors and cut them up and do the first set that you've ever done. And it costs that customer 10 times, but you're able to put your name on it. And I'm not saying it makes sense in different scenarios. But what have you seen the difference in? Because I've seen a difference, and I want to know if you have.
Yeah, I have. And actually, that has a lot to do with why Intech Auto came about, because we don't want people putting BBT fabrications mirrors on them, because I personally feel like that's a downside for another builder to use another builder's product on their car, right? So that's part of why we separated it. But I also see that, back when I first started, I wanted to build my own chassis. And you realize real quick that if you want to do it right, it's going to cost 4, 5, 10 times as much as it would cost to build a roadster shop or to buy a roadster shop chassis, and it's not going to be as nice. And I think it's finally come to the time where, it's okay to use other people's product on your build, because you're a builder. You're not a parts manufacturer. You're not manufacturing, mirrors, for you guys, like for the roadster shop. You guys are building chassis, you're building cars. Can you make those mirrors? Absolutely, 100%. But is it cost effective for you to do all the R&D and development?
Is it cost effective to the customer?
It's certainly not cost effective to the customer. And so, that's part of the reason why Intech Auto is Intech Auto and not BBT Parts. Just so that way those builders that do have those egos where they don't want to use anybody else's parts that's building cars, they're not now.
Right. And I know that's probably an overgeneralization, because we've all got those cars, right? You're going to have customers that come in. You might be building a car right now you're building it. He comes in, you have that relationship. This is going to be a thing. And you're going to probably design and develop and do parts on that car that you're not going to sell for Intech, or it might be a little bit watered down version of that to make it more affordable. There's guys out there, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do something. We're not going to buy parts. We're going to machine our own. But then there's also those cars of like, yeah, we're going to build a Survivor, or we're going to build this guy his third, fourth, whatever car, because of his expectations and what we know his expectations are in that vehicle. That should determine what you do with that. Just like we don't build engines, but we don't ever look at ourselves at the end of the day of like, man, can't believe we had to buy a motor from General Motors. I mean, fuck, what does that say about us?
They're building like cars.
Yeah. And that's where I always look at it is like, we don't machine the fucking brake caliper, right? Jesse machines his own wheels, right? But he buys somebody's fucking brakes. Right. He could machine his own brakes, right? But there's a time and a place, and sometimes that ego needs to come step down and take care of the customer with still putting your brand on the build.
Right.
You can do that.
I agree. I think the industry's kind of like settled down, and that's kind of like the norm now.
It's matured a little.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all came with driving the cars. Like, you can't do it all well if you plan to drive the car. Like, you can't make the chassis, make the brakes, make the wheels, unless you're Troy Heavy. But then it's so damn expensive, and you can only do so many of those at a time. It's not sustainable for 90% of the people out there. That's not a sustainable option. So, and if you want to actually use the product, and the best products that are out there, in the most cost-effective way, you have to use, Ring Brother hood hinges, roadster shop chassis, GM engine. You have to do those things. Otherwise, the end result's probably not going to be that great.
Yeah.
But I think people miss when they hear that, they think that they've now become an assembler, and they're losing all of their personal touch. But
Well, there's a time and a place for it.
yeah,
Right? Like, I don't think you're not going to see, like, the vet that Kindig built, the Riddler Winter, which is just it's just a miraculous piece
it's a
of art.
once-in-a-decade car. It's a
You're not
once-in-a-decade
gonna
car.
see there's a damn good reason it doesn't have, like, our chassis or your mirrors on it. Like, that's it's art. Everything has to be created.
Right.
You can't, in that environment, you can't do that. But for 99% of the other customer builds, it's so much more beneficial for your own business and for the customer as well. Like, that's, for us, that's the way to do it. Like, the very first thing I look at, we're building a truck right now, and it's an awesome truck, but I'm looking at it, and it's it's a square body, and it's gonna have bigger square body mirrors, not the big truck mirrors,
Sport
not
mirrors.
the little mirrors, the sport mirrors is what we call them. And I'm like, man, they're a pain in the ass. They always fold in. We've got customers complaining right now that at speed, like highway speeds, they fold in. So the very first thing I do is I just shoot Troy a text. I'm like, Troy, you want to do something with these? Because he's the fucking mirror dude, and you want to align yourself with the right people, the right relationships and quality products. And at the end of the day, it makes for a better vehicle build, because the time spent, like, could we build those? Probably, but like, that's what you do. Like, it would take us so much longer to do it. And that time could be spent elsewhere, like sorting out, like, the final ride quality or, like, something else, that makes it a better product.
Yeah,
Tolerances on the tension ball there's a lot
Yeah.
that, yes, could be figured out, just like you talked about a chassis.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah, it's not worth the resources that you have.
Because if we asked you to put an RS logo on them, you'd put it on there. So, like, what?
Nobody even know the difference.
Good point.
Right, there you go.
I got a different take on it. Going back 5-10 years, there was nobody building cool shit, like, on a production basis. So
You
looking
had
at
to build
that,
it?
well, you had to build it, and you had to be unique and different. Now you're looking at it, and guys like you, guys like Jesse, guys like Ring Brothers are building kick-ass parts that are that top tier. So why build something when you can buy it and save all the time, save all the effort, allocate that to other areas on the car? You have the top builders in the country building limited production parts that you could put on your own car. I mean, you're getting Troy's style on your car.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day, it doesn't knock the car down at all. Like when Classic Car Studio throws our mirrors on it, your chassis on it, it doesn't take anything away from those guys at all. Like, they put it together, they made it all happen, they executed the plan. Like,
Who won Street Machine? Classic Car Studio.
Right.
You think anybody's talking?
Nobody's talking about
We talk about, and it's so cool that car that Classic Car Studio built that won, that's so bitchin', happened to
our
choose our
product,
chassis,
yeah.
happened to choose your mirrors.
Right.
But the public, and that's where, like you said, the Classic Car Studio doesn't look at that as like, man, I mean, can't believe we had to buy a chassis and we bought mirrors. No.
We could have won more with.
Right. We're one of the few industries that has that mentality, right? Like, if you're building a house, like, are you gonna mill
Make the faucets?
studs
Yeah.
and, like, machine the faucet? Because,
grow
like,
those trees.
everybody's got that fucking
flowers.
faucet, dude.
No, the
Like,
guy picks the best products.
Exactly. The boat industry. Like, look at every boat. It's a recipe. There's the good products, right?
There's only, what,
Like,
two
the
or three
throttles,
motor
the gauges,
manufacturers in the whole
motor,
thing?
The drives. It's like all the different competitors out there are using those parts because they're the best parts.
Right.
And if you don't use those parts,
You have a half-ass boat.
yeah, then you have a half-ass fucking boat, and nobody's gonna buy it.